real business owner.
Whatever your situation is currently is not your forever situation.
That's really what real business owners is, man. Like, we don't care where you come from, where are you going?
Our goal and our job is to reduce the mistakes that you have to make or the money that you have to lose.
You want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, don't give up.
You learn, adjust, and continue to move forward. Welcome back to the Real Business Owners Podcast. This is episode 95 with myself, Trevor Cowley. As always, Kilo G.
What's up?
I think we have the most special treat for you guys today.
Well, we've talked about getting these guys for at least
almost
a
year. Yeah,
right.
We were supposed to have them on in Vegas in April, I think, of last year. And to be quite honest with you, it might be just as much of a treat for us.
It is.
As it is for you guys.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Hey, did that sound good? That was a cool
great.
intro. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So sweet.
I know. I practiced that for a year now. We've been waiting.
Really well.
Right? So I have
Were
it
you looking
dialed
in the mirror when you did it?
Oh yeah.
Over and over again?
Yeah.
Oh, wait,
I have
wait.
it dialed in.
We
I
really
said
were.
too many words. Let me do it again. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I got it dialed in.
Dialed,
I'm ready.
dialed.
I'm ready.
And then right when the cameras go, it's gone. And then I've got to try to remember it. So, guys, today we have the Saunders. These two are the dynamic duo of entrepreneurship. Husband and wife team. They kill it on the personal side with their family. They kill it on the business side. And when we joined the Arete Syndicate, and I know that there's people in Arete that listen to this, but we're sorry. These two are our favorite.
Oh my God.
Hey,
These two are our favorite.
They are our favorite.
No doubt.
You know what you said yesterday when we were talking, you're like, I've kind of not been really on social media much. And I was like, you know what? He hasn't been, because I remember talking to my wife after, because I didn't get to take her to any of the like Whistler events or the lives or anything. And I'm like, these are the people I want you to meet, babe.
Yeah.
Like, they're so cool. And it was like Liane, you like just joking around with Chris, and you guys really are just like a great example to people and relationships and business, because there is a lot of husband and wife teams out there running businesses together, and like you guys are a good example to those folks, right?
Well, we appreciate it. It's
it can't be.
I'm not saying this because she's sitting beside me,
work.
but it is definitely a lot of work, but it is like living the dream.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is when you have the kind of connection that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, it is never easy, but it is easier.
Yeah.
When you guys are on the same path, when
That's
you have
a
the kind
great
of connection
point.
that we have, it's easier.
That's a great point to bring up when you said when you're on the same path.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a great lesson just straight off the bat. These two do things together, right? So it's not Chris going to events and doing the self-improvement thing all by himself, where she has no idea what the hell he's doing, where's he at, what's going on behind the scenes, anything like. She's a part of the process. You guys are a team, right? And not enough people act as a team together on that same journey. People get married and somebody might own a business. It could be the husband, it could be the wife, and they're almost living two completely separate lives where they're just not on the same page, because one's running the family, one's running a business, and it's just that the synergy ultimately starts dying down, right? When you guys are on the road together, you guys are improving together. Everything that you guys do, you do it together. And usually, some people would say that it could cause turmoil, or fights or whatever if you're around each other too often. What would be your guys' rebuttal to something like that? How do you make that work when you're around each other constantly? I love that you guys are together constantly and on the same path, but how does that work? Like, how do you guys, there has to be some nuggets that you guys can bring to the table here, because I know a lot of people struggle with this.
I'll go. Well, I think it's like anything, even in business. You have to know your audience. I know when Chris is having a tough day, I need to lift him up, and vice versa. Like he said, it's not always easy. And when you're on a path, it makes it much more difficult if he's going one way and I'm going the other. I'll give you an example. When he joined Arete, it was a big investment. Financially, that we had not made before. He was really not into self-development, and I wanted nothing to do with it. So there are many, and again, it could be a wife that's going into something like that, and the husband doesn't want anything to do with it. But He didn't try to push me. I just kind of sat back and I watched his energy. I watched him advance. I watched him grow, and I wanted him to pull me up with him. But it takes a couple that has a special connection, I think, for that. You have to be willing to talk about it because many people don't like change.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of talk about it. It was scary for me because it was like most people are just comfortable, right?
Yeah.
But if you're comfortable, you're not going to grow. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
You're just not. And so he would just slowly give me little nuggets from things he was learning and really kind of just pulled me up with him. Took me to events, which led me to see that these people are genuine. They are normal. It doesn't matter if someone has $100 million in this group or $1 million to their name. They are still here to level up and grow, and they're good people. So I think it takes involving your spouse, letting them know you're not leaving them.
Yeah.
You're just growing because you want to help grow the relationship, whether it's financially or whether it's, just networking in general. So
I think it takes a deal of humility too, right? Like there's a lot of husband and wife dynamics, and I've experienced this in marriage in the past, and like me and my wife, we support each other pretty good now. But it's hard sometimes, like when one partner starts really like shifting and changing, a lot of times it breeds like
Resentment.
contempt, and they're over there like rooting against their spouse because they're leveling up instead of saying, hey, you know what, I want to come with you, I want to level up with you.
Yeah.
That takes a little bit of humility.
It takes an identity shift. So not to call any names, but some syndicate members had talked with me, and they're like, hey man, how do I get my wife on board with this?
Yeah.
I'm like, you got to give them time. You've got to give them time. They need to see
Don't
the
force
shift.
it.
Yeah, they need to see the shift. They need to see you pivot and start to become a
So
better
they actually
person.
have to take the information and apply it so that they could see it, right?
Absolutely. And so I didn't have to, when I decided to apply to the syndicate,
Yeah.
Already our relationship was strong. It's been strong from the very beginning.
Right.
Our story is crazy.
Yeah.
And so we had to work really hard to be together. And so, when you go through that and you go through some ups and some downs and what have you, you just establish this connection. And it was like a moment where I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in this. It's going to cost a whole lot of money. She got to a point with me where she was like, I don't care what you do. You do what you think you need to do. Go. And we're just fortunate, and we're fortunate that we have that kind of connection that very few couples do.
Yeah.
So that is one thing that makes a huge difference.
You felt like some of the stuff that you went through and had to fight to be together, overcoming
Absolutely.
that, you felt like that drew you closer
Absolutely.
together
Yeah.
and had a
Absolutely.
deeper connection because you guys were fighting for love, right?
Absolutely.
And once you finally got it, it's like, let's have each other's back, no matter what.
Yeah.
It's-
And our baby girl was born with a hole in her heart, and she had to have heart surgery at like 2 months old, and
So
we
scary.
had
I
to
didn't know
fight.
that.
We had to fight
Yeah.
again, and so what happened? We got
Closer together.
Yeah.
But I will say this, we're not saying that every couple is going to want to follow the same path.
Yeah, of course.
There can be lots of struggles, but the big thing about Chris is he'll tell you, I never tell him no. If Chris tells me he has an idea, I never tell him no. Now, the reason for that is so many couples it's a power struggle, right? Like we learned long ago that you can grow together more by not telling each other no and just trusting the other person with their ideas. Now, that's not going to be successful in every single relationship depending on what's going on, but I don't tell him no. If he says he needs to do something, I trust him. It doesn't matter if he wants to buy a new pair of shoes or he wants to spend, $100,000 on something for the business. And I think that's important, is to have that inherent trust in your partner and believe in them, because if you don't, then I think there's a deeper rooted issue there.
That's
Remember
awesome.
that she said she never tells me no.
That's a lucky man right there.
That's why he's always so happy.
That's why he vibrates at such a high frequency. He's just, I swear to God, he floats wherever he goes. He's like, she never tells me no.
And
But he's the same way with
it's a
me.
two-way. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
going to say it's
Yeah.
a two-way street. She's a member of the League of Goddesses. Charles Covey's wife, Alicia, started a women's girl power group.
Okay,
Badasses
so
in
cool.
there.
It's a women's
You need to
entrepreneur.
recruit our
It's-
wives into that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they'd love it.
And also women
They
in
would.
business. So she's a member of that, and I mean,
Emily Frisella.
How do you like
cool.
that? Has it been awesome for you, or what's your take on it?
Both of those women's groups. I mean, I adore Arete. I mean, I've got you know the symbol tattooed on my ankle. But there is something different about coming together as women and really trying to help one another.
Yeah.
What's really exciting about both women in business and with the League of Goddesses is there's no membership.
Right.
It is truly just women helping women level
Really?
up. And yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I know you let women. If you let women be in charge, amazing things can happen. Men,
Yeah.
fall in line.
You know, my wife.
Fall in line. That's the name of this podcast. Is Fall in Line from Liane Saunders.
yeah, but she's like, I want to do this. I'm like, go. I mean, she's you know,
That's how-
she's
I think that's how it
enabled me
should
to
be.
be able to
Yeah.
to get started down this path, and now she's joining me. So it's a two-way street. If she wants to join a paid women group or any other, I support her.
Our wives are really supportive. Like we do our thing, we go to events, and they're always they're very supportive. There are sometimes discussions where it's like, well, it must be nice. Like I'm back here with the kids, you guys are doing this and that, and I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, babe, force it. Like if you want to be a part of something that you think is going to help grow, because she's a business owner, his wife's a business owner, like do it, force it. We'll make it work. Like go do something or come with. I took her to Cabo to Stuman's Mastermind because I'm like, that's a big goal of mine this year. Like I want to be like what you guys are doing. You're leveling up together. And so, anyway, I'm not kidding. You should
Let
recruit
me talk
her.
to your wife,
Yeah.
because I understand what it's like to have the mom guilt and to not and to feel selfish. It's
She's
called
like
self care,
that.
and most women don't realize that a part of self care is allowing yourself to go away with your husband.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't feel guilty that I'm not tucking my kids in at night or I'm not there if something happens.
It's probably completely normal.
Right,
Everybody's going to feel it, but
but
there's
she
give
has,
and take, right?
She has to know what she deserves, and you have to make sure that you're encouraging that, which I'm sure you do. So let me speak with your wife.
You love our wives. We will all get together one day
we'll
soon.
have
I
to.
know.
Because they
You love
deserve
them. They're great
deserve
gals.
that type
Yeah.
of experience. They deserve to be a great mom and great women as women and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But also, as we know, traveling and being, I mean, it's not like Leanne's here with me now.
Yeah.
But, you know, those solo trips where you're out, I mean, I miss my kids. I feel guilty.
After
Like when I was
one
in
day.
Pittsburgh for, 4 days with Brian Hess, I'm like, man.
Sometimes, dude, when we have to travel, it's like, we got, because it's like you have to be away.
Like we get but sometimes we're like, oh, we have to, like, because we miss our families.
Yeah,
and
exactly. It's like
taxing
sometimes we don't want to
sometimes.
go away either because again, we want to be with our families, but we also want to be where we can grow our businesses for our family. And so it's this kind of tug of war that you're playing as an entrepreneur, giving your family enough time, but also giving yourself the time that you need to develop to ultimately be a better operator in your business so that you can bring more food home to the
Absolutely.
family, right? That's really what it comes down to. Let's talk about your guys' business, okay? First off, how long have you guys owned that business?
18 years.
17 years.
July will
17
be
years
18.
This year.
Wow.
Yeah, what we do is we specialize in late 70s hubcaps.
That is
like-
incredible.
yeah,
They're so hard to find. Business is probably booming right now.
Absolutely, dude.
I see hubcaps all over the
Gremlins,
freeway.
like not even Nissan. We're talking about the Datsun 210s and 610s.
Are those cars
the
even on the road
Camaros
anymore?
that yeah,
Volt,
they're
do you
still
got any
around.
Volkswagen Rabbit hubcaps? Because
absolutely,
mine's missing a couple.
Yeah, we need an upgrade.
You know what's interesting is people fall for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like a con artist, but when people are like,
Well,
what
you
do you
say it
do?
so well.
And sometimes
I know, right?
I'll insert here and it'll just
blab
come
off the
out.
top
Like I
of
don't
the
even
map.
know.
Yeah.
I'll say something and I'll just roll with it. So our
So if you
company.
need hubcaps, go to www.saunderscaps.com.
Yeah.
We'll just see if that domain's available.
Yeah, Saunders.
So our company, Integrated Communications. So I founded it in 2004. So it's our 17th year.
Yeah.
What we do is all that mobile technology that's in the cabs of trucks. All right. So we have 3 verticals that we focus on: transportation, distribution, and field service. So trucking companies use mobile technology to remain compliant with the number of hours that they're supposed to drive
that's
on the
like
road.
a logistics thing, so
Absolutely.
where they can track the truck and understand how many
And so
hours.
the truck drivers can only drive 11 hours a day.
before they have to take a break and sleep,
Correct.
so the roads
So
are safe.
this technology.
Do you want to sell for us? Because we're hiring.
This is
Done. Send me leads. Send me one right now on the podcast. Let's see if I can close it just on the podcast. Yeah.
And then distribution companies, so beer distributors, those gray Amazon vans that are zooming around town, they're owned by independent logistics companies. So, the Amazon delivery person has a phone. They have to take a picture of your package on your doorstep. They mount it. They use an application. So we source all that, okay? And then plumbing, heating, air conditioning companies, construction companies, end users nowadays, like, truck drivers, beer delivery guys or gals, construction workers, they're typically running mobile applications that are mission critical for the job, for the delivery, for the service of the heating unit that's down.
Making sure they're on time and they can
Absolutely.
check
So they need mobile technology. It's more than just a phone or a tablet. It's a phone, it's a case, it's mounted, it's charged. The application is installed and managed and supported, and that's what we do. We source everything, and we simplify it by setting it all up.
Does it
and then
help
we support
companies
it.
you train on it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we put training videos on how to use the applications on there.
Is this an insurance play too, to where it help reduces insurance for some of these companies?
It can we have a distracted driving solution that we like to implement. We really want to push that because it makes the road safer.
Correct.
And also it protects the company. I say your fleet,
less liability.
I say your fleet can be one of two things. It can be rolling billboards or they can be rolling lawsuits. It's your choice.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do. And we've been, I started in the mobility industry in 1999.
Wow.
That's what I was wondering, is if you started kind of in the industry, worked for someone else, and you're like,
bag phones. Do you guys remember the bag phones with the cord and everything?
No.
You're 39 and you don't remember that?
38.
38, bro. Don't give him a year.
37, I
Slow
meant.
down.
37? Yeah, so I started before, whenever cell phone networks were like analog.
I remember my dad's Ericsson that had like...
I went through every transformation in the mobility industry all the way to where we are now. And so I came off of the farm. Like, I have a major blue collar background, which is one of the reasons why I'm at this conference.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about blue collar.
Right.
We do not have a single customer at Integrated Communications that isn't a blue collar customer.
Hey, I came up blue collar too, man.
Like,
Some of my most
absolutely.
fond memories are getting shot by the staple gun from my dad and all his coworkers. I'm like getting their cuts for them down on the ground. They're up on scaffolding shooting, telling me to dance,
But, blue collar companies, America's economy is on the back of blue collar companies.
Without a doubt.
And the
Without
thing
a
about
doubt.
it is they drive, they build, they service, they deliver. Okay.
Totally.
But they're not huge adopters of technology. However,
true.
technology is needed. Right.
That's
so
true.
what we do is we make it easy for them to use technology. They don't even have to think. You need this phone or this tablet. It needs to be set up this way. It needs to be mounted this way. You need to use it this way. Now
You're
go forth and
simplifying
do
the
it.
process,
Simplifying.
making that it's like not overwhelming, even in the thought
Absolutely.
alone, right?
We source all the right gear. We simplify it by setting it up so that it works properly, and then we can support it for them after the fact. So that's what we do.
So is that, does that come, like, is that a residual?
I didn't even let Liane
you're
say
fine.
anything.
We'll
He's
Yes,
getting in the
that's
zone.
what we
But you know what, really?
gloss over.
honestly,
He is correct.
So much of the company
Yes.
is operations, and she runs it.
I've
She's
heard you,
CEO
I've
of
heard
the
you
company.
say that many
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, because you can sell,
got the
sell,
gift
sell
of
all you
gab,
want, but if you
but
can't
she's
deliver
backing up the gab,
and you
yep.
can't support,
Yeah.
then you're dead in
You're
the water.
screwed.
Well, you got to have someone too that it's important to get the job done, but everyone loves her too. Everyone in Arete loves her,
Absolutely.
so I assume everybody in your company loves Liane.
The atmosphere in the I'm an energetic guy. We all know this, but the atmosphere in
Surprise,
the office
surprise.
is different when she's there.
Yeah.
She's like, she walks in the office. Number one, people. She's tougher than I am on people.
Really?
So she people fall in line. Number one. Number two, they're much happier when she's there. Like, I'm a sales guy, so I'm in my cave. Like, I'm on the other side of the building.
You're
We got
focused,
ops
yep,
on one side,
yep.
sales on the other. I'm on
Yep.
the sales side. I am in my office on conference calls most of the day. And Liane is,
She brings a structure.
she does, man. I mean, I am not structure-less, but I have very little structure because, I have the gift of ADD. People are like, oh, man, I have ADD.
Oh, yeah,
Dude,
like it's a bad thing.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's the creativity
Use
just
it.
flows.
Yeah, use
and
it
I
to your
embrace it.
advantage.
I just do.
Like, people don't use their disadvantages enough to their advantage, because you can turn a negative into a positive provided you actually really want to. And not too many people are leaning on it as an excuse to get out of doing something, and instead of holding themselves accountable and moving forward in a positive direction. You know, I believe that wholeheartedly, that what some people say is a bad thing can be a positive thing, provided you redirect that, right?
You know, the law of repurpose.
Yep.
Right. It's one of the core principles of Arete. Right. And I never really, until I got into the Arete Syndicate. I mean, Liane was right. Like, I followed Brad Lee, and then I followed Grant Cardone, and then I met this Andy guy, then I met this Ed guy, all online. But I had never really made an investment other than some Brian Tracy CDs.
Yeah.
You know, Eat
Old
That
school
Frog.
training,
Absolutely,
yeah.
man. Like, you
Just
know,
listen to it
Psychology
back
of
and forth
Self,
to-
Psychology of Achievement. But Arete was my first venture into, I'm going to go
Self-improvement.
become better.
I'm investing into me right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learned is, you know, there's the law of reciprocity.
Yep.
Do unto others. I mean, it's kind of in line with the golden rule,
Yeah.
but you help people without expecting a single thing in
Give
return.
enough, and then
The
it'll
universe
come
will
back.
take care of you on the
Yeah.
back end,
Yep.
whether it's with that person or whether it's with some other person or opportunity. But there's also the law of repurpose. And the law of repurpose says, we say this all the time, things can happen for you, or things can happen to you or for you.
depending on your perspective.
Absolutely.
And it could be the same
And
situation.
Look at 2020. It was a shit year for a lot of people,
Oh, yeah.
us included.
Yeah.
But you know what? We're still here, number one. We didn't lose our ass, number two. We learned a lot.
Yeah.
We learned
yeah.
that we need to change our marketing up. So we look back at 2020, we're like, we haven't been doing enough marketing in this area. So it happened for us.
It
not
showed
to
you
us.
where you were weak.
Absolutely.
Right? And instead of getting comfortable, because sometimes we get to a certain levels and we're starting to do good, that we don't shine light on maybe some of the areas that we need to improve because we're doing okay. And in some cases, we don't want to look at our baby and say, hey, there's a flaw right there. But when the tide comes back and things are exposed, it's truly exposed to where now you've got to get creative and shine light wherever you possibly can on any area of your business that's weak, and then try to double down on it and make it better. And I think a lot of people probably didn't take the time to do something like that during 2021 or 2020, right?
Yep.
To move into 2021 even stronger. Last year was a great year for us. We're blessed to be able to say that, right? I know there's a lot of people that they can't say that, but again, we've done a good job of insulating ourselves from scenarios based upon struggles that we've already had in the past without a pandemic, right? We've had financial struggles in the past that forced us to put a lot of money in the bank to keep a solid reserve so that whenever there is a curveball or something that happens that we don't even know is going to happen, we're ready. And if you stay ready, you don't got to get ready.
That's right, baby.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
We didn't got to get ready. We're like 2020,
Some of
what?
my
Come at
favorite
us, bro.
lines, yeah.
Come at
That's
us.
the value, though, of a group like, not just Arete, a lot of different groups
Yeah.
out there are great, right?
Yeah.
If it's business, it's entrepreneurial, people are coming together, you're learning things like this, right? Most people don't have that capacity or the strength to, when they're going through a hard time like 2020 or whatever, to sit back and be like, okay, this is tough. Okay, how can I learn from this? What's happening for me, right? Like, what's happening for me? People don't have that, but because we invest into us, we get to that level. It's a little bit easier to do that.
It
'Cause it's
opens up
hard.
your
We
mind.
ask ourselves the right questions now,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
When we hit certain times, we look inside rather than playing the blame game. Like, oh man, this happened. There's nothing I can do about it, right? We're taught not to do that, right? But if we didn't have those teachings, we wouldn't have those type of questions to ask ourselves to kind of hold our own foot to the fire, right? Let's talk about in terms of you making an investment, because I will tell you this, me and Keller are completely different than what we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, completely different. You know, and the first year we got accepted into the group, we chose not to enter because we're like, oh, this might be just a cash grab because we both got approved. We thought maybe like, what's the odds that we both get approved when the group is only like 100 people, right? Out of 36,000 applications or whatever it was, right? And so the first year we look at each other, we're like, man, they're just probably approving everybody to just see who pays. And it's a cash grab or whatever, right? And then we talk to other people and they're like, I never got an approval. Like nobody sent, you know, we talked to some people that made decent money too. Yeah. And they're like, no, we never got anything back. We never got invited to the group. And so the second year we had committed prior to even applications. We're like, if they approve us this year, we're doing it for sure. We're in.
I did the accelerator first year.
Yeah.
Trev's like, stay in the accelerator, fill it out. And so I did, and I networked in there, did a couple like videos and posts, and But man, like, I don't even know what it was, even before the Arete. One day I was like, man, what is this podcast crap I keep hearing about? And so I just decided to just get on a podcast app and search some. Andy was like the first one that popped up. I'm like, dude, this guy speaks to me. And I was like hooked from the get-go, you know?
Yeah.
And so just because we love those guys' content so much, we were like, iffy the first year, the second year, we're like, all right.
Yeah, by that time, we were ready to buy into something great, right?
You guys were all in on first year, man.
Yeah.
That's
I wish we would've.
incredible. That's incredible to not get gun shy, because I guess that's kind of what happened. I guess we made an excuse to validate us not moving forward. Really, if we boil it down to all of it, we were just like, maybe they're just approving it, and we put it on them rather than just looking inside and saying, you know what, if we want to get value, let's just invest. What have changed in your guys' life since you started focusing on self-improvement? Because that's what this podcast is completely. It's self-improvement for entrepreneurs. Tactical information that they can use, implement in their business today to make their business better, or information to make them better as an individual, so by default their business gets better. So what were some of the big key things that you saw that enhanced your life after joining some of these groups and investing into yourself?
Everything.
Everything.
I don't even look the same.
Yeah.
Like everything about me is different. Now, at my core, I am who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, my shirt says be
you.
you, they'll adjust, right?
Yeah.
Like I am who I am, but I don't think the same. I don't talk the same. I don't act the same. Well, that's questionable.
Yeah. The 13-year-old you still comes out every so often.
Yeah, like it. I mean,
So you're saying
I'm trying not to say that everything about me is different, but almost everything about me is different. Why don't we let
I was
Liane
just going to
answer
say,
that
I want to
question?
get Leanne's take on this, like a different point of view as well.
Just before, it was a year or two before, he applied for the syndicate, we had like 37 cents in our bank account. Yeah. Like straight up, he went to Home Depot and wanted to buy like something that was $2 and something, and
You're like, you can't.
and he could not. Right. And so he knew that we needed to make changes. And when this came about, I mean, I remember sitting in the car outside of a Mexican restaurant, and we were like, can we really afford this? Like, this is like a mortgage on our dream house or something where we're from. But once he got into it, I saw him come out of his shell. I saw confidence in him. I saw him, he did not let things that would normally in the day, if he'd lose a deal, I mean, it could easily just
Throw off
rock
his
him
whole
for
day.
days.
Yeah.
Now he just breezes through, and there's another one
On to the
coming.
next
It
one.
changes, right? It changes your mindset to make you realize that you are unstoppable if you choose to be. It's the energy. It was listening to the speakers. It was networking with people like you, that if he can pick up the phone today and say, I've got a problem here in my business, let me get your guidance on it. It was the network. It was just a shift mentally for him and emotionally. He used to be, when you're broke, you're angry a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You're angry
No
a
doubt.
lot,
No
right?
Yep.
That's a lot of pressure on a man that has a family that's his job is to provide.
Right.
And it's just like this, it's just in our DNA. We feel like we have to provide, and if there's no money, we feel like we're failing, so you're just angry. More at yourself, but it projects out into the world.
Your identity becomes that.
Yes.
Like the identity is
I'm broke.
absolutely.
And he
That's what you are.
He was not reading books until he joined Arete. And again, it could be any group. He wasn't reading books. There wasn't a big friend network, because being an entrepreneur is a very lonely space.
Absolutely.
Most of our friends don't know how we feel. They go to a job 9 to 5.
Why do you put
always
out all those videos? Why
They're
are you
all-
always doing this? Why are you always
Yeah.
doing that? I'm like, because I'm trying to
be
get
better.
Be
better.
I'm
They just
practicing.
don't get it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because they live a life of comfort, which is fine.
Yeah.
Right.
For them. It's just
Yeah.
not fine for me.
Yeah.
Totally. You know what I love, dude? When I met you in the gym at the first Arete event we went to, I was like, who is this guy? He's just, everybody knew you, man. Like, you're a great networker, okay? And that's what I do for our business. I'm a networker. Like, I've built this company off networking. And so, but dude, you're a master at it. Like,
He's a connector.
everyone I asked about, it was like, oh, Saunders, and then I met you, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. You guys are freaking awesome.
Well, thanks, man.
But dude, you know what it is, man? Like, so many people don't allow themselves to buy in. Me and Trev come from a background of sales, and we've sold some programs that were about coaching and growth, and they weren't the greatest. So it was actually really hard for us to buy in. But when you really buy into something, you can get all those gains that we just talked about that you've had in your life. But people hold themselves back from buying in fully. There's always that little voice in the back of their head that's like, oh, there's something off. They're just trying to get my money or whatever it is, right? But
But they need to look at it differently. How people need to look at it. Who cares about the money that they make? You're actually really just investing into yourself. You're not giving them investing into them. It's self-improvement.
Yeah.
It's not their life improvement, right? Yes, they have information that has taken them decades to gather, and they've gone through the hardships, and they can give us the information where we can kind of bypass that somewhat. We'll always have difficult times, but we can bypass it because we're mentally where we need to be to look at it in a certain way to where, again, we ask ourselves those right questions and come up with the right solutions. So it's investing into yourself. Anytime that you have a coach, don't look at it as, oh, they just want my money. No, you should want to give them your money because you want to invest into you and grow.
You got to be looking at, what am I going to get back?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I went into Arete because, again, obviously we're not going to make this whole podcast about the Arete Syndicate, but the reality is,
It's just about improvement.
I saw Andy and Ed both say, we're making a big announcement tonight separately, independently. And they came on and they made the announcement. And I just decided then, I'm like,
I got to do this.
I've got to. Like,
Something's got to give.
Ed, we know how Ed can just speak. He can talk to
the soul.
1,000 people,
Yeah.
but you think he's talking to you.
Yeah.
Ed was speaking to me. And I'm like, you know what? In your intuition, your gut, your intuition will never steer you wrong.
Yeah.
It just won't. Even if you go back and you look, like, maybe that was a questionable direction it sent me in, but somehow it's always right. And I just knew that I needed that.
Your intuition will send you in the right direction. Your mind talks you out of it.
Amen. And I believe that's too many people listen to their mind instead of their intuition, their gut.
Yep. I agree.
But I also think that any group, because again, we've talked quite a bit about Arete, but it's like taking medication. You choose when to stop. If you're in a group that you're not getting the value out of it that you think you are, find a different group.
Yeah.
One of the big things that Chris can talk to anybody, and he talks to everybody like they're his cousin, right?
Oh, yeah.
But Chris
No,
will
like they're
reach-
like-
secrets right
Yeah.
there.
It's
Chris
not
will
even
reach
cousin.
out.
It's like long lost brother.
That's
you
right.
know?
But you have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone and reach out to an Ed, reach out to an Andy. You would be surprised, that they are normal people just like we are. And you can't be afraid to reach out to somebody just because of rejection. You're not going to get very far in life if that's the case. So if you don't do something about your life right now, you have no one to blame but yourself. You have to hold yourself accountable for where you're at and where you're going.
But that's the problem.
Absolutely.
People don't hold themselves accountable.
No.
And I'm not trying to paint that with a broad stroke, but the majority of people find a reason why they're not where they are, except for themselves.
Yeah.
Like,
We all do it.
are
We've
responsible
all
for
done
where
it or
you
do
are.
it.
Absolutely.
100% of people.
and it's easy to do it even now for me.
Yes. So it's always a struggle to make the right decision no matter who you are. Some people just have the discipline to make that right decision no matter how uncomfortable it is or how unfamiliar it is. Anything that's unfamiliar is scary, right? Investing that money was scary when you guys didn't have money. This is also another lesson right here. He was 13, 14 years in business and struggling financially. Yeah. Some of you guys listening to this might be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years deep into business and struggling financially, but ask yourself the question, when's the last time you invested into you? How much money have you really parted with to make yourself better? Not your company better, but you. You're the individual operating your business. You're the one that's responsible to make the business successful. And too many people stare at their business and say, where can I put money in my business to make it better or grow so that I don't have to be broke? You have a broke mindset. They have the same business that they did on year 1, 2, 5, 10, 13 when they had 37 cents in the bank account. Yep. The only thing that's different is them. Because they took the time and the money to invest into themselves, to put themselves in a situation where they're more valuable to their company. Therefore, their company gets more valuable as a whole. That's a huge, huge lesson for people.
That was fire. Nice job.
Was it? You want me to drop the mic?
He does that. He does that.
Sorry.
So in 2000,
I'll drop the mic if you guys want me to.
in
throw the
2015, which was about 3 years before I
Started investing.
started in Arete, starting investing. It was our first real downturn. We had like a perfect storm situation. We We had a massive customer that was committing fraud. Had nothing to do with us, but we had to address that.
Wow.
We had we're representing Sprint from a mobility connectivity standpoint. They were rebuilding their network. I was still settling financial things from years before, so it was like a perfect storm. And we came out of it because I'm a fighter.
I was just going to ask, how many times, like honestly, truthfully, how many times did you sometimes have that conversation in your head, like, maybe I should just walk away from this?
Dude, to be real with you.
Be real.
I asked him a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Like if
last Friday night we had
Yeah.
a major situation at nighttime, and Liane's like,
You're
I
just
don't
like,
want to
fuck.
keep having to do this on a weekend.
Yeah.
But then what happened?
the next
Saturday
day,
morning,
yeah.
we're like, we're going to dominate. We're not. What are we talking about? What is wrong?
But that's
You know,
but that's the reality of being an entrepreneur.
we
It's
get
gonna
ups
yeah.
and downs.
It's gonna ebb
That's
and
why
flow.
I
Yeah.
wanted to ask that question
Yeah.
so that people know, even
Often.
people at a high level,
Yeah.
they still have those same thoughts, but they don't act on them.
Absolutely.
That's the difference.
I will not quit.
No matter how low.
I will not quit. I have never quit before in my life, and I won't quit. It doesn't matter how many times I'm like, man, I'm just sick of this shit. But I wake up the next morning, or maybe 10 minutes later, I'm like, what the hell am I talking about? I am mobility. Like, this is Chris Saunders here. Like, I am the face of the industry.
Your
and I
license
will be the
plate
face
says
of-
fucking
It's-
hustler
It does. It does.
So
But, like going through that downturn, in 2014, which led me to February of 2015, having 37 cents in my bank account, I fought back from it. And then knowing that could happen, that it could be
you
done.
try to insulate yourself from it.
And then Arete, you stack Arete on top of that, and the new experiences, the new mindset, the new network. In 2020, I didn't worry one bit. Not a single bit. We did not do as well in 2020 as we did in 2019. In fact, when people are like, how'd you do last year? Last year to me was 2019. It wasn't 2020. I mean, it's not like I want to necessarily forget it because I learned a lot. But we went down again, much like we did in 2015. But the only thing I ever worried about in 2020 was, how do I get my team to still follow my lead through this? How
Because
do I
they're
get
all
my
struggling
team?
too.
Everybody's, we're having
mentally,
a morning Zoom call. No one's together. Like, we eventually got back in the office, but our business, our companies were either our trucking companies either had empty seats in their trucks. They weren't investing in new technology, or B, they were so busy that they couldn't afford a technology change out. So a lot of our business just kind of got delayed. Now we're really
Booming
busy.
again. Yeah.
But I thought to myself, I'm not worried about what's going to happen and if we're going to be okay.
Right.
I'm worried if I can just
My people.
keep them on the ship, on the boat, rowing in the same direction. That's the only thing I've ever worried about since.
I wonder how many entrepreneurs are actually concerned about their team and their people, because I think we can get caught up in our own problems, our own issues, and sometimes we feel sorry for ourselves, so we're just too inside of ourselves, right? Yeah. And it wasn't even more than 2 or 3 weeks ago that I had a pretty tough week or whatever, and Kel and Corey sat down and like, dude, we could tell something's off or whatever. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm at a fucking low point right now. I'm like, I could go into my room and turn the fucking lights off and not come out for a day or two, like, and just zonk out and just want to be gone for a minute, right? And that Friday, what I decided to do is I decided to text, Kaysen's sitting right over there. You got a text from me that one Friday night 2 weeks ago, huh? What did I say? I got outside of myself. When you're hitting a low point, is because you're feeling sorry for yourself and you're only thinking about you. That's the issue, right? And then that Friday night, I text everybody, all those sales guys, and told them how much I appreciate them, how much they're valued and loved, and and how much me and Kel just talk about how much we care about our people, and the responses I got back made my fucking night. It turned my whole week around, right? And so it was just getting outside myself, being concerned for somebody else rather than just feeling sad or bad for myself, right? And I think we can easily get caught up in worrying about us. And if you're in that spot where you're low, be of service to somebody else. Find the people that you are grateful for and shoot them a text and tell them how much you appreciate them. Because, again, you put something out there that's positive, guess what's going to come back?
Absolutely.
Something
It's the
positive,
universe, baby.
and it's going to help build you back up, right?
Gratitude is so
Important.
unbelievably important.
Absolutely.
It can
Totally.
completely
shifts your
change
perspective.
completely change your
That's it.
mindset. in a split second. You know, and my grandfather, you know, I'm from the South, so my granddaddy, he used to say, nothing is ever as good or as bad as you think it is.
So true.
And
That
it
is
is.
true.
And just, I got a
We
lot
can
of
get so
women-
high on our highs and we can get low on our own
Absolutely.
lows. You
Well, it's
know?
like let's talk about, again, like the wanting to quit, right? You know, that's not something that we're actually going to do, but you can look at a shitty situation that you just went through and be like, God, I'm tired of doing that. And then the next morning you're ready to go. Like, you know, Bedros compared entrepreneurs they're like fighter jets, right? They take off and they shoot straight up, and then they dive way down and they fire and they drop missiles and shoot missiles and drop bombs. And then you have everybody else. And this is nothing against someone who's not an entrepreneur, but it's the difference between an entrepreneur and someone who is not. We're up, we're down, we're left, we're right, we're feeling shitty. You know,
I would say sales.
We're fighters.
I would say if anything's close to it, it's sales.
Absolutely.
Because there's going to be ups
and
downs, lefts, right.
You're
You're
getting
dropping
kicked in the
bombs
teeth.
one week. Yeah.
You're making 50 phone
Yep.
calls, 45 of them, you know, you're getting a no or
Yep.
take me off your list or
Yep.
whatever,
Yep.
and then you have those 5. And you have those 5, and you're like,
But you have to be on point all
owned
50
that.
just to get
Absolutely.
the 5.
You stay
which
ready,
is
you ain't
hard
got to
to
get
do.
ready. Absolutely.
You
hard
hit
to
on
do.
it. You hit on a little while ago too, man. Like entrepreneurs, or at least the good ones, right? And good salespeople too. They're self accountable. You know what I mean? And accountability. I mean, just like if you are in a low and you realize, man, I haven't been doing my gratitude lately. Like you have to be accountable for it. You have to find the areas of where am
you're
I
lacking.
accountable down the line? You had somebody embezzling from you. At some point, you had to be like, man, where is it my fault though?
Yeah.
In order to turn this around.
Leadership is the problem.
Yep.
Leadership is the solution.
100%. And accountability is something you can practice, man. And I learned that when I went through a divorce and it was nasty and I went through all this. That was my first journey into self-improvement because I literally hired a therapist and I went there for 5 years and I practiced all this shit. And part of it was practicing accountability. And as you practice it, it's like a muscle. You get better at it. Yeah. And you're always looking for when that shit happens to you, it's really for you, but you're looking for like, man, where did I go wrong? Where can I do better? And that's something that entrepreneurs do too, man. I love that analogy of fighter jets. I never heard. I don't listen to Bedros a whole lot. But that's a great
I
analogy.
clicked with it instantaneously, and I saw it. This was like 2 years ago or something, and I saw it, and I was thinking, God, that's me. That's me. Even in the think about this, in the course of 8 to 10 hours. Think about how many ups and downs could happen and have happened. Not that it's going to happen on Monday when you get to the office, but think about it. Everything could be going good, and then we find out one of our customers has an outage, and then it's blood on the floor. We're all coming together. We're think tanking this thing. We're trying to figure it out, and then everything's good, and we're all like taking a breath. And then we get a verbal on a big contract, and then we're on a high. And then the next thing you know, another customer's having an issue. Right? It's just ups and downs. And it takes a certain mindset and a certain
No matter how good you're performing, there's still going to be problems.
absolutely.
And you have to be prepared
it's
for
life. It is life in business and it's life in general. You can't control things. You have to control yourself.
Exactly.
And how you figure out a way to pull yourself out of that mindset of I don't want to do this anymore and look at the other side of if you stay in it, what's going to happen?
Totally.
What's the opportunity like? You know.
Let's talk about ages. Let's talk about what lessons did you guys take from your 20s? What lessons that you guys took from your 30s? And obviously now in your 40s, it seems like you guys are in a really good place emotionally,
Liane ain't in her 40s.
financially. I'm not talking to Liane on this one. This is a question directly for the old timer. Yeah, sugar daddy over
That's
here,
right.
Big Chris.
I am 44 and proud.
Okay.
Like a fine wine.
You guys both
That's right. That's right. I don't give a shit how old I am. I'm me.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
I don't have an age.
Yeah, we shouldn't fear it.
So what were some of the, because we were talking about this prior to getting on the podcast in terms of, really figuring yourself out, and how you become self-aware is you have the data, right? The more data you have about yourself, the more self-aware you can be, the more you can hold yourself accountable, as Kel was talking about. So, through your 20s, what were some of the lessons that you pulled from your 20s versus your 30s? And, you're not even into your mid 40s yet. And you guys seem just like you're in a good place with your family, financially, mentally, you guys are doing all the right things, right? You're asking yourself all the right questions.
It seems that we're doing all the right things. We are not doing all the right. We are doing more right things than wrong.
Right.
I mean, I can tell you that.
So when I say doing all the right things, that doesn't mean all your decisions are right.
Yeah.
But you have the right mindset. Not that you know everything. The mindset is really, once you have that dialed in, then you're good. Then you just got to execute with
Having
that
the right mindset makes it a little easier
Mm-hmm.
to move forward with things.
Yeah.
I can say that. Well, Liane has a much more interesting 20s to talk about.
Okay.
In your 20s, drinking a half gallon
fine.
of vodka is never a good idea.
Oh my God.
Sarah.
So it is in your 30s or 40s?
Never a good idea.
Yeah, never.
If I were to go first, I would say my 20s were all about me.
Okay.
Like it was all about me climbing up the corporate ladder. My background is in hospitality management, so I worked in hotels. I climbed up the corporate ladder in corporate America.
I
I
wonder
moved
why
around.
you're so great on the back end there in your guys' business.
Thank you. Oh yeah. So customer
Operations
service,
minded.
operations,
Plug and play.
customer service. VIPs, like that's my jam. That's what I did. I even worked here in Miami. I worked in DC, I worked in Indianapolis, so I learned about customer relationships and how important they were in operations and back of house is what we call it in the hotels. But in my 20s, it was all about me. It was about having fun, getting to the next level in my career, and it was what's in it for me. In my 30s, it became more about
Me.
Okay,
It became more about me.
it became more
Finally.
about.
Chris
well, no,
is
it
like, "What
did.
took you
Like
so
Chris,
long?"
Chris and I have known each other since I was 15, but we did not date until I had just turned, I think, 30. So in my 30s, it was about there's more to life than me. I want a more stable career. I want to have something that really is more meaningful to me, that I really feel like I'm making an impact.
Did you feel like you were chasing
And
something?
she found it
then you
right
kinda-
here.
Thank God you made that turn, because
Right.
then you walked around the corner and then knight in shining armor sitting there waiting for you.
In my 30s, I really wanted something more meaningful. I wanted to know that, that people were getting value from me at my job. I worried a lot about what people thought about me in my 30s, like just to the point of,
Wear you out almost.
Yeah,
Or it's
it really
exhausting.
did, right? And then in my 40s now, it's about what can I do for you?
Yeah.
How can I improve your life? What value can I bring to you without expecting anything in return? But I'm also at a point in my life that I realize how important it is to take care of myself. Chris and I were talking about the ups and downs. Most people that know me see me as like Miss Happy Susie Sunshine.
100%.
And I'm one of the most positive people you'll ever meet. Like, I feel like I have like sunshine blood in my veins.
That's awesome.
But I suffer from depression, and a lot of people don't know that about me. But I can't let that define who I am. And as an entrepreneur, it's really hard because, like you said, you want to go in a room, turn off the light, and just
Be
disconnect.
alone.
And you can't do that. You can't do that to your people at work. You can't do it to your family. You have to find a way out of that dark place, and having a network and people that can help pull you
And
out
that's
of
on
those.
you to do that,
Right,
to
right.
figure that out, yeah.
And having a partner, whether it's your spouse or just a boyfriend, girlfriend, what have you, that knows their audience and knows when you need them and knows when to let you just kind of get through things. So I would say in my 40s, it's about, how can we level up? How can I bring value to others? And it's not so much about me anymore. It's about my family, my friends, and just being a better person.
Isn't that funny? What you just said is, how can I level up? But then you also talked about being of service.
Right.
And people don't understand being of service is leveling up.
The two are
Right,
connected.
right.
Exactly.
I can't
Absolutely.
give to people that need,
Yeah.
whether it's financially or
If you don't have.
emotionally,
Yep.
if I'm pouring from an empty
Yep,
cup.
yep.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yep.
that again, that means I want to have the money to help others. I want to make sure that my team at work knows that they are always going to be getting a paycheck as long as they're
Yep.
working for us. I want to help others if they're having a downtime.
Make them
Especially
feel
other women,
secure, right?
in that are in the entrepreneurial space. Is that it's a lonely space, but if you've got the right network, you can get through it
Yeah.
because you've always
Right
got
team.
somebody you can call on no matter what problem you have.
You guys can FaceTime us whenever.
Oh, thank you guys.
We'll pull you out of whatever hole.
I totally relate
But
with that.
we might pull. You might pull us out of a hole
Hey,
when
if
you're
you
calling
ever-
for us to pull you out of a hole. We're like,
I'll tell
hey, let's
you what
just
I
pull each
tell,
other out.
the people that I talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't talk all the time.
No.
But like I'll tell you,
Yeah.
if you ever need a reminder of who you are and what you're capable of, you pick up that phone and you call me.
Yeah.
It's true, man.
And I've
Saunders
done
got
that
some
a
text
multiple
Yeah,
calls.
Saunders
Yeah,
not
you
kidding
just-
when he says
yeah,
this
yeah.
either.
Like,
It's true.
Yeah.
You,
Good,
people,
good human.
People, even me, and I say even me as if I'm like perfect. I'm far from that, but like I'm seemingly a positive person as well.
Yeah.
But I get down on me a lot. I mean, like particularly when you look at 2020. Now we're completely great right now in business, but that really messed with me.
Yeah.
It really I mean, I think
it messed with everybody.
We had so much momentum. I can remember being in San Francisco. I had 4 meetings with 4 major partners that we were looking at bringing on and being a mobility partner for. And I owned every single meeting. And while we were in San Francisco, the coronavirus was announced. Like they had discovered it. They were taking people from China, like Americans from
They're
China.
starting to shut everything down.
Yeah, and they're
or
moving on to
flights
like
or
a
whatever.
containment area in the U.S.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, it just
Kind of slowly
It's crazy.
dwindled.
it just started. Everything just started to slow down for us.
I don't think people wanted to
that-
make any business decisions because everyone's like, let's see what happens with this thing. Everyone froze for
That's
a
it.
minute,
That's
you know?
it.
And if everyone's freezing and there's not money being exchanged,
Yep.
things start dwindling.
So
right?
luckily, we had a really strong 2018, 2019.
Right.
And we were smart with
we were
cash.
very
because-
smart.
Which
Absolutely.
was
So
huge.
important.
You know, you need to have a good accountant and you need to have a good banker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, those are huge because yeah, if
Amen.
we had not gone through what we did with that downturn with the 37 cent in the bank and realized how important cash flow was,
Yep.
That
we
was
would have
probably
been
a
in
huge
jam.
pivot point and a great learning lesson
Right,
at a low
absolutely.
point in your life
Absolutely.
that puts you in a situation to be much stronger
Guys,
in the future.
We had never been in the red prior to that. Ever. 13 years. It was steady and consistent growth. Dude, we were running the company on a $10,000 credit line, which we never used.
Right.
So I was like, man, we don't need a $500,000 credit line. Wrong. Like at some point you will need it.
Yeah. It's not
You
debt.
will-
It's
It's
leverage.
It's better
if
to
you
have
do
it and
right.
not need it than need it and not
Absolutely.
have it.
Right.
You know?
And so
Get
after that,
access
we're
to
like, we got to
capital.
get our house in
Yeah.
order. Like if this ever happens again, we got to be ready for it.
You have to invest in
And-
you have to invest in those relationships so when the shit hits the fan,
That
you're
that
better
there.
prepared.
You have that relationship
Right.
capital.
And the
right?
reason why I'm telling you the story about being in San Francisco and just feeling on top of the world, thinking this is going to be our
The best
biggest
year ever. Yeah.
is so we all know, you guys know Ben Newman, right? So,
Yeah.
So Ben's my performance coach.
Gotcha.
So I text with him every day. I report to him at the end of the day. You know, like he's not my manager, but like there are certain things
Accountability
that we've
partner.
determined that I need to do on a daily basis to win that day.
Yeah. You do that enough?
Absolutely. It's compound
be
effect.
good.
It's
Yep.
the compound effect.
Yep.
I didn't know who he was, but when we had that one training from him, I was
I
like,
want to talk
"Dude,
about
I
an
like this
amazing
guy."
human.
I went
He
and
is
did
an-
sales training about him
he
the
is
next
an
day.
amazing
like a good-
person.
just a
It is
good dude.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
But
There's a
when-
few people that ended up hiring him. I think Nash.
Oh yeah,
and Henry.
Nash, Sean Henry,
Yeah.
Evie, Danny Schroeder, Andrew Goggin. I mean, he's maxed out now. He's not taking any clients.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think the Arete
That
people. That call. Dude,
That call,
so
he got like 10
Bro.
clients that are paying a decent chunk to
I reached
coach
out to him.
Yeah.
We went to go see Evie.
Yeah.
We had like a little get together in
Oh,
Idaho.
yeah, in Idaho.
Right?
Yes. I remember
And Evie
that.
told us, Evie said, we were just talking about things that have happened that were great, right? She's like, well, I hired Ben Newman and it changed my life. And then she said, we structure my day this way. And I was able to get, and I was like, done. And
That's all I need. That's all I need.
I rewound in my head to the, to that
Call.
that we had the virtual summit.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is a no brainer. And I signed him right away.
So valuable.
But what happens is we replay that momentum build leading up to the lockdown, which everything changed after that.
Yeah.
And he reminds me of that every call. This is how good he is. I mean, I told him that story in the beginning, and I talked to him like every 2 weeks. Like we have a coaching call. And then that comes up somehow on every single call.
Smart, taking you right back to that.
Right back
that
to
moment
it. What he's doing is he's
how you're doing what you're doing.
He is putting
Remember,
back in
all this
front
could
of
go
my
away
face.
at any time if you're
Absolutely.
if you're sleeping on it.
Yep.
Right, and you're not performing every day these actions.
Yep.
So don't put yourself in that situation again
Yeah.
by doing this, and this.
Yep.
Right, and so that's smart.
Yeah,
to
every
do that.
single and so 2020 it really messed with me.
Yeah.
It just really did because there was a lot of uncontrollables,
Of course.
right? And there were too many uncontrollables. And that's what we learned. We're like, we have to control more things to bring business in that are in our control.
You can insulate yourself somewhat from
that's
the
right.
things that you can't control by controlling what you can.
Yep.
Right?
I thought the whole time through the pandemic, I was like, it ain't gonna get me.
Yeah.
I'm building my house. I'm working on all these things. I'm still landing accounts. I'm doing all these things. But man, I looked back, kind of, just fairly recently ago. I'm like, that actually got
did
me, man.
affect me.
It affected me here. It affected me here. Like I, had some stupid shit over politics. You know what I mean? Like I started looking at all these things. I'm like, damn, actually,
I'm actually
News,
grateful.
politics,
I'm
the
grateful
pro-
for 2020.
It was a
dude,
very
you have to sit
difficult
back and
year,
learn from it.
and I'm sure, hindsight, it'll be 2020.
Dude, like I put out a post. That's good.
Another mic drop from Trev.
Hashtag dad jokes. Yeah. So I put out a post that said, "Dear 2020, thank you." And some people clowned me for that post.
Yeah.
But I really meant it because 2020 opened my eyes wider than they had ever been opened before.
Yeah.
And we will never be in a position again where we're that vulnerable for something that is outside of our control. So we have to control more so that we
You
can.
can't get as comfortable. You have to
Agreed.
stay focused
Even when
and
you're
keep
not
pushing.
comfortable, there's still a level of I'm comfortable, and you don't realize it.
Right.
But you're
Well, it's happening subconsciously. It's not maybe a conscious thought where you're like, I'm just comfortable. No, back
There's part
in
of
the
you that's always
subconscious.
seeking it,
Yeah, Yeah.
agreed.
I have a saying that I say, and I've said this for years and years and years in the, because I had quite a few team members when I was in the hotels. We're in a smaller business now, but it doesn't matter how great things are going. You always have to inspect what you expect, because if you are not staying on top of your stuff, it's almost like I was trying to explain that to my kids the other day, and I was telling my son about practicing spelling words, and he was like, why do I have to do that? And I'm like, well, do football players not practice? Like, no matter, even the best ones still practice. Like, you have to stay on top of your game no matter how long you've been in it, or somebody else is going to creep up behind you.
Will you guys adopt us? And you can teach us. We'll be your kids, and you can
I didn't
teach
learn
us
none of that in my
lessons. Yeah, we
adolescent
never
days.
got those type of
Well,
lessons.
dude, and that's one of the
But
big
that's
things.
powerful.
Yeah,
That's powerful.
It's one of the big things is that we want to raise our children with the mindset we didn't have. Now we grew up with a very really good work ethic. Always work hard to get what you want. But that gets you so far. Like, you have to work smarter and not harder at some point. And we're very hard workers. But like, even in our family, we have he has a mission that he says every day in the mirror. We have core values with our kids. We say at night before we say our prayers. Like, we are trying to drill this leveling up, be better mindset into even our 6, 8, and 12-year-old.
What's that show where they're like, I think it's like Billy Madison or something, where they're saying their last name. O'Doyle rules. O'Doyle rules. Honestly, that's
some value
the
in that.
Saunders
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
there.
dude,
Because I
that.
see Chris in his car, with his kids, with his phone. What are we going to do today?
Dominate.
Yeah.
Dominate. I see it
Instead of
every-
O'Doyle rules, the Saunders, their
Dominate,
rules are
baby.
dominate.
Yeah.
Well, you're in a society now that everybody gets a trophy. That's not how we roll at our house.
Right.
The standouts
It's
in
just
the
not.
future,
Yeah.
I really believe what is going to be the major differentiator is work ethic.
Without a doubt.
Is work ethic.
Totally.
If you have a great work ethic, I think as time goes on, that's going to be slowly a dwindling trait.
Separation.
It's
And
almost
gu- and
like
guess
common
who's
sense.
working
Common
harder?
sense isn't that common anymore.
Guess who's working harder than we are? China, Brazil, Russia, any of these other countries that want to get to
Where
our
we're at.
status.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're working their asses
nipping
off,
on the
and we
heels.
got all these kids. I mean, no offense to the
Say how it is.
30-year-olds,
It
the
don't
20,
matter.
but you have all these kids that they grew up with
Title.
a phone in their hand. They don't even know what reality is. I've had a job since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, I literally have been working since I was 10.
34-year career.
Yeah. I mean,
These motherfuckers been working for 3.5 decades.
yeah, I have.
Yeah.
But that is my brand.
Yeah,
My
right.
brand is I will work
Yeah.
hard
Right.
for what I want.
This
Now,
will outwork anyone.
that's what she says.
But that can only get you so far. Right? You can work hard, but
gotta
eventually you've got to work on the dome
Amen.
piece, right? You got to be working on the mind. you know, so that you can work hard and smart, both of them.
And
right?
your dollars,
You put
gotta
those
get your
two
dollars
together.
working for you too.
Yeah, exactly.
You learn how to get on the right path and make the right
Exactly.
decisions.
Marry those two.
You put the work ethic in the mix as well. You're absolutely unstoppable.
Absolutely.
So I really believe that work ethic, that's why we're pushing our kids. We want our kids to, it's going to be hard in the society and the resources that we have to not have them not expect things.
Yeah.
The entitlement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We want to like crush entitlement in our house, and it's going to be really hard. I mean,
It is hard.
But I can tell you that if we hold them accountable to certain standards and push them to earn things,
Teach them to be
and
accountable.
put in the work. We talk about it all the time. We're like, I asked Bailey in the school line the other day, like, Bailey, what is grit? You know, I did not prep her or anything. I'm like, Bailey, what is grit? She's like, it's when you work hard and push through even though you don't want to do it. That's from an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, like we need to like continue to do that. Like I want these kids to be mentally
Unstoppable. Just bulletproof mindset.
David Goggins stats.
That doesn't
Yeah.
mean that they won't
Which is
have
gonna
hard
give them a
times.
huge advantage.
But a bulletproof mind is going to make those times easier to overcome. Hard times will always enter, but it's having the right mindset to overcome something that's difficult, that's unforeseen, and having that mindset is going to put them head and shoulders above everybody else.
Amen.
I put on the Instagram stories like a couple weeks ago that was a pet peeve. I was at my daughter's basketball game. I was looking over and watching the other team on the other court playing, and I just saw these kids playing like absolute shit. And I saw this coach said, "Good job." And I was like, why are you teaching them that type of effort is rewarded or good? Why would they ever dig deeper and try to get better if they're already told good job? It's okay to highlight some of the things that they do well, but also let them know, hey, you need to work on this. I don't care if you're good or bad, but I do care that you're giving me 100% effort out there. Give me 100%, we'll work on everything else, and you'll eventually get better. But I can't stand when parents or coaches are just, good job, Billy, or good job, little Susie. If it's not a good job, it's not a good job. And don't create this false delusion that half-assing is a good thing. That's just not the way that it works. And we're teaching our kids not the way that we grew up, because we were coaches back in the day. There was colorful language. They swore.
Oh, yeah.
They told us
You got
that,
your ass
know,
beat.
You got your ass beat.
Yeah.
Growing up, the
I've
way
had to go to
we
the principal's office so many
the
times.
way that we grew up in sales when we first got into sales, if you even got a word off of the script, there would be somebody walking by and they'd hang up the phone right there and they said, where is that on the script? You're like, well,
Sweet.
they ask a question, where's that on the script?
boiler room style.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was, bro. That's pretty much
This
it.
script is your harpoon.
Dude, that's really what, and they said, call that person back and you start right here and you read that. Or if you were off, people would go up behind and kick the back of your chair where you would like get jumped out of your chair.
Nice.
Stick to the script.
I think the most
and that doesn't happen anymore.
I think the most powerful thing, because I think we all know as people, like we know when we're half-assing. We know when we're messing up. We know when we're
little
not
voice
putting it
is
in our
telling you.
all.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I think you're right. We should never like highlight them and say, good job, you did great, when they didn't. But at the same time, they already know. I think the most powerful thing is like how you feel. How do you feel about what you did?
Right.
What do you
them
feel
so
that
they
you could have
analyze.
done better? And that's kind of what I do
That's true.
with my kids. I'm like, you be honest? How do you feel?
Yep.
If you feel like you did great, okay, great.
I learned that from
But
Kel.
if you feel like you could have done better, where could you have done better at? Because they know the answer, just like we do. We're all still little kids, man.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And
But
we
they're
all
not
programmed with
smart
certain
enough
programming.
to ask themselves those questions. So you're asking.
You
the
ask them, and then they
accountability
have
questions,
to.
and then let
They have
them
to
make
go
that
in and
decision.
discover it.
Well, and I think also we do not try to prevent disappointment. And I think whether it's kids or whether
tough.
it's your team members, you don't coddle people. That's what we
Yeah.
say in the South. Like, you have to allow people disappointment so they remember how they felt, right? We don't allow our kids, we're not like, oh my gosh, everything's okay. We're like, that's part of life.
Right.
Life isn't fair. It doesn't
Right.
matter if you're 6 years old. I'm letting you know that now. Like, you're not going to win everything. You're not going to always get a trophy. And we tell our kids.
Teaching moments.
Yeah, we're teaching them. So we do not take away disappointments. We let them happen to
Yeah.
our kids. And as parents, it crushes you inside. You're like, oh my God, I want to protect them. I don't want them to be sad. But that's not going to prep them for life.
Yes, that's a hard decision to be able to do something like that. But usually the hard decision is the right decision, right?
The hard
We
path
all
is usually the best
Yeah,
path.
exactly.
The hard decision
we want
is
to
usually
coddle
the
our
right
kids.
decision.
We want to, pick them up when they're down, but they need to. We have to teach them that toughness, right? And my aunt just passed away of cancer, and it was funny. I heard a story that I hadn't heard at her funeral just this last week. Her son was up there, and he would always say as a kid, "Well, that's not fair." And she goes, "Well, the fair only comes to town once a year." She goes, "If you want fair, when it comes to town, we can have the fair. You can ride all the rides and have all the treats. But in life, nothing's fair except for the fair that comes once a year. That's it."
I love that.
So-
That is
cool.
great.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
borrow
love
that
too. I
one.
was like,
Adopt
that's a
it.
new
Yeah.
Trev Dog original.
Yeah.
I'm taking that from my aunt.
When one of my kids says it's not fair, I just say nothing's fair.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing's fair,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Yeah, make it work.
Hopefully they're going to stop saying it one day, but nothing's fair.
It's up to you to make it work to your advantage.
Yep.
Fair or unfair, right?
So important, man. Like, what's that saying? Who said that saying where like, you want to change the world, go home, freaking change your family.
Yeah.
Go home, raise your kids right. And that's cool
I think
that we're
these
all
guys
talking
are an
about that.
epitome of
Great
that.
example of
Yeah,
that.
I
When I
think
got
so.
that
Thanks.
text message from your daughter the other day, I was like, man, you guys are raising good people.
Yeah.
It's
But it
Well, it
takes
takes
work.
good,
and that's what
good
we
people
gotta
to
do.
raise good people,
Listen,
and you
we-
guys,
we
you're doing
took
it.
Leanne. How long did it take our first kid to start saying yes, ma'am, and
Y'all
no,
know
ma'am?
we're from the South, right? So in the South, you say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. I worked on her, I swear, for like half a decade, but now she says it like clockwork.
A little more
But that's the
strong-willed.
one thing, like if you choose to have a family, you have to put them first. You're never going to be as successful in business if you don't take care of your home. And so we put more work into our kids and our family than we do anything
You know
else
what I
in
like
this
about
life.
that? What that reminds me of is structure. Humans need structure. Why did we invest into self-improvement? We wanted more structure in our life, but as the entrepreneur, nobody can give it to us. It's up to us to get the structure. Kids need structure in a home. You have to have structure in businesses for businesses to thrive.
Yep.
Everything comes down to structure. You guys, it's difficult to have those conversations with your kids. It's not easy to do. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. But you're giving them structure. And they're going to be able to thrive in life because they understand structure. When we have no structure, we have no direction. We have nothing, right? And so it's up to us to bring structures into our companies, into our homes, into our families, right? And create structure for ourselves. This is what a routine is, or positive habits. You're creating a structure for yourself that you hold yourself accountable to do this, 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 and this every day. That's a structure. And that's how you become successful, is by structuring your life from yourself to your business to your family, all that. I can do better on the family section in terms of structure, but
We can always all do
there's
better.
always somewhere we can improve,
because again,
There is
we're gone
never
constantly.
There's
and,
never
all
good
this
enough.
stuff. Yeah.
There's never good enough.
We're always chasing better, just better, not perfect. Progress, better.
If you love your
And that's really
family,
what
if
it
you love
comes
your
down to.
team, you love your work team,
Yeah.
you'll do it. You'll put in
Yeah.
the work. You'll always strive for better, to be better for them. Because if you want to be a great leader, you got to lead yourself.
There's never I'm doing the best I can.
Right.
Wrong.
If I say that, he gives me such shit. He's like,
She doesn't
I'm doing
say
the
it
best I
anymore.
can, Chris. He's like, are you? Are you doing the best you can?
The first time,
And it
one
really
time,
pissed me off, but it holds me accountable and it makes me remember
Ask
who
those
I am and
questions.
what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
one time it got really escalated. She's like, I'm doing the best I can.
No way.
And she was loud. She's like, I'm doing the best I can. And I said, no, you are not.
So don't you start that Arete bullshit with me right now,
Yeah,
Chris.
this was in the early days. This was in the early days of
You're like,
me
don't do that
realizing-
Arete voodoo magic with me.
Yeah.
Look at what kind of cult this
It
is.
doesn't matter how good you are. There is always another level.
Yeah.
Always another level.
Don't sell yourself short and say this is the best I can, because there is a better version. And that might be the challenge that you need to overcome to find the better version of yourself on the other side.
Yep.
So get over it and make it happen, because there you are.
Yep.
You're a better person once you overcome that issue, that problem, whatever it is that you're facing. That's just an opportunity to get better. And it's nothing more, nothing less. If you have an issue in your business, address it head on. And you're going to be like, you know what? I'm glad I did that. My business is better off. I'm now a better leader because I'm not putting shit off. I address shit head on, right? And whenever we have issues at the, it's time for one-on-ones. We got to sit them down and we have to address that shit head on. And anytime that we do that, I always feel better leaving those. Like, yeah, man, we probably should have done that a month ago or two, So
Communication it's easy as leaders to kind of go into the room and shut yourself in there and think I'm so important. I've got important shit to do.
I'm busy.
When we've had more downtimes in our business, it's when we were not openly communicating with our team on a regular
didn't
basis.
have that structure.
It was that lack of structure, and
Everybody's
as soon as
in
we
their
put it
own
back
world
in
doing their
place,
own thing.
everything was kind of, it was back on par. So that is so important in a business, is those regular one-on-ones, because you don't want to have one-on-ones just because things went bad. You want to have them when things are going good as well,
I like that.
Liane is a management powerhouse.
You need to start a group of your own. We'll sign our wives up for it.
That's true.
She's an amazing coach.
She
right?
is.
She doesn't consider herself a coach. We had a call earlier with one of her friends, and I was just in complete amazement of what was coming out of her mouth.
But I think it's easy, and for the women listening, and wives, to feel like your identity shifts so much when you become a mother, that you're trying to find this identity between being a woman, being a mother, being a wife, and then also being, whatever it is you're doing in business. You don't have to be a business owner, just
your job. Even.
And so I think you really sell yourself short, and you really lose a lot of your gifts and your talents if you're not using them. If you don't, what is it? If you don't use it, you
not all
lose
of
it.
them.
If you don't use it, you lose it. And I think that's why it's so important in your businesses, even if you've got someone that's not in a leadership role, to have that open communication and remind them that they're an asset on a regular basis, because you never know what's going on at home. And that business may be what inspires them during the day and what keeps them going.
So true.
And you need to have a culture that you are nurturing all of your biggest assets, which are your team members, so you can level up and they can level up, and it's just going to keep your business growing
That's
and
where
thriving.
2020 did get us, is our culture was really great, and it did decline. And we're actually putting a lot of work back into that right now, and that's a big part of it.
what happens when people
communication wasn't
Yeah.
as good from us. Like we did. We let some things fall.
A lot of people
we had to learn
working from
it,
home,
take accountability.
It
all
happened
that.
to so many businesses.
The number of curveballs last year was just unbelievable.
We were going to the park and doing spike ball,
And you
barbecues,
just can't put a price on
bowling,
culture.
But you can't bring
Agreed.
all that was taken
Like,
away.
1,000%.
I couldn't tell you how much we invested in it. It's a lot. And I can't tell you what the ROI is on it, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's just like
It
when
will
our
make or
people
break
are
your
all-
business. If
can.
you don't have your culture where it needs to be, you are not going to be successful. Not for long.
Yeah, I was going to
Yeah.
say, you can skirt by for a period of time, but you're not going to build anything special.
Yeah, you're not going to get to the level that you
Your business is
think
only
you
as
can
special
get to.
as your culture.
Yeah. And prior to pivoting and getting into investing in myself and in the business, I thought everything was good.
Yeah.
And now I nothing
Good is a whole
good.
different story now,
Dude,
right?
it's I'm grateful for where we are,
Yeah.
and certainly for where we're going.
Good isn't
But once
enough.
we get there, it won't be good enough then, and then it won't be good enough after that, and then it won't be good enough.
Is essential.
That's right.
That's the only essential thing in 2020 is excellence. That's
right.
If you had excellence, 2020 wouldn't have been as bad, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But it was bad for everybody. Everybody felt it. Let me ask you guys this, just to kind of wrap up. What advice would you give to, maybe younger entrepreneurs, not in terms of age, just newer in business? What are some things that you think that you would put high up on the list, for maybe them personally, or something that they should focus on their business, maybe managerial styles or sales or whatever? What's some advice that you would give a young entrepreneur that you think would help maybe, take their business to the next level if they did X, right?
I will say
Call Chris Saunders.
for hubcaps.
Yeah.
So I would say the only regret that I have, and Arete didn't exist prior to 2018,
yeah.
But there's always been entrepreneur
Groups,
organization. There's masterminds. There are industry specific groups of people that get together. There's Vistage or Visage.
There's
there's
tons of
tons.
different events or whatever.
Do that early. Do it early on, because I was a loner for years.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I have a short list of friends.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's always been that way. Not my entire life, but certainly in the last decade.
In the entrepreneur space. Yeah.
Because people don't understand me. But guess what? You understand me, and you understand me, and you understand me. You understand why I'm going through what I'm going through, because you've gone through it before.
Well,
You've questioned yourself the same way I've questioned myself. Your
Because when we ask
buddies,
some of the same questions, You guys had the same answers as that we had because
Absolutely.
we
And
have
guess
such
what?
common ground.
You already know the answer.
I do.
You already know
That's
the
why
answer.
I said keep it real.
Absolutely.
Because I knew if you kept it real, I knew that we'd have pretty much the exact same answer. All of us are going to go through this.
But we need validation.
Mm-hmm.
We need validation
We need to know that we're not alone.
from someone who does what we do, different industry, but lives the same kind of life.
It is really nice
Get
when you get
around people who are doing the same type thing. Doesn't matter if they're right here in your backyard. They can be across the country.
It doesn't matter.
I know. So I know that I can call you and you'll pull me out of a slump.
Yeah.
Or you can call me and I'll pull you out of a
Yeah.
slump. You know why?
What
Because
about
we
me?
both-
You were just only pointing at Kel. I felt
We
pretty
have had some
excluded.
calls.
Hey,
Hey,
Liane.
You're
I've got-
mine.
Can I
You're
please
mine.
change spots, Chris? I want to sit
I
next
got
to
you,
Liane.
Trevor.
Hey, let's exchange information after
Hey,
this.
there's been times we have had calls, and I'm like, dude, I just needed that.
No,
today.
man,
I'm so grateful
He
called
did.
me.
A few
know?
times he's like, dude, I had a good call today with Saunders, man. I
Yeah.
really
It's so
enjoyed
cool of
it."
him to
Yeah.
actually reach out because
Yeah.
we make these
Yeah.
friendships at the group, and we go home, and we don't really.
Yeah.
Like,
We get so
you're
into
really
our
good
own
at that.
shit.
Most
Yeah.
people aren't.
But you know what? The thing about it is, every time we talk, it's like unpressing the pause button.
Yes. Mhm.
And when we
Starting
hang up,
right over.
and then we press it again.
Yeah.
I mean, the
Nothing.
rapport, the relay, all those things
I
are
cannot
still
see
intact.
you for 2 or 3 years and run up and give you the biggest, juiciest hug ever, and you're gonna smack my ass just like you did yesterday.
But
you
no,
know?
but that's what you get when you make friends and you get around people who are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You just get each other. You don't have you didn't have to play on the same basketball team in high school to get that.
we're on the same vibration, same frequency.
Amen.
You know.
What would you think?
Yeah.
What would you say?
I would say my advice would be along the same lines. It's find your people early. Don't be afraid. It's almost like being in a sorority. Shop around for the people that you feel are your people. You don't have to spend I know so many people that have been in this group and that group and they've
they all
spent
pulled
so
value.
much money. Right. But find your people, pick up the phone. Technology is right at our fingertips. Listen to people's podcasts, send them a message on Instagram or whatever. Find your people, see who you vibe with and
Right.
look for that group and find your people
love that.
early so you don't have to be 13 years in and having a downturn.
I had no
You know.
support system for all those years.
Yeah.
I mean, hold on a second. Except for her, but I'm saying she wasn't an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So she learned what I'm going through by
I'm
being
married
around
into
all
it.
of you
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know who to talk to. All those years.
You bottle it all up.
Absolutely.
It's just it's your problem to deal
So
with. And
if I
deal
could
with
go
it.
back, I would have
Yeah.
had a network much earlier that I could rely on, and they could rely on me.
Where do you think you would be right now if you would have invested into self-improvement 10 years ago versus 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, I'm gunning for that Ed Milet status. So I probably could have been there. I
That
could
$80 million
That's it.
Global
That's it.
Express private jet.
And I don't ever laugh
That's
at
it.
anybody when they say stuff like that. I mean, when we were in Whistler, Tyler McBroom's like, I really want to speak on Tony's stage.
And what is
we
he
were
doing?
just
He's
commenting about it.
speaking-
Yeah,
and
just
now
boom,
he's
yeah.
freaking headlining.
And he's our
it,
accountant. And when we said a minute
Yeah.
ago, like, we didn't realize how important it was to have a relationship with a good banker. But guess what? Our relationship with our banker, if we need the PPP and we
Right.
decided to go
all
in on
done.
that,
They'll take care
we
of
got
it.
it.
Right.
We need, whatever we needed. We called Tyler, Tyler McBroom's our accountant. Help us get what we need to get this ready. We want to be at the front of the
Right.
line. Having those relationships early on, even when you think you don't need them,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you
People
are an
don't
early
understand how
entrepreneur,
much
right,
they do
right,
need
You'll
them
need them
in
sooner
the
or
future.
later.
Have a
Yes.
good
Yep.
attorney,
Yep.
have a good accountant, and
Yep.
have a good banker
Yep.
from the start of your business. Your network can help get you those contacts.
Yep.
And then you'll be much better off when things do ebb and flow because they're
Yeah.
going to. That's inevitable. If you've got the right people backing you up and believing in, whatever it is you are selling, whether it's a service, a product, or what have you.
That's so true.
So true.
That's one thing I wish we would have done, is invest into those groups and quit making excuses and saying it's just a cash grab for those guys. Again, just start investing into yourself. It doesn't matter. It could just be time if you're broke. Could just be time. Just like Liane said, listen to a podcast. We started listening to podcasts, Ed and Andy shit. And we're just like, that's how we first started getting back into like improvement or, let's get in growth mode mentally. Right. And then it just slowly escalated from there. And then here we are, 2 or 3 years later, running and gunning and, always looking for, bigger, better. And, it's not about perfection. It's just about progress every day, every month, every year.
Practice makes progress.
It's about the progress and the process.
Yeah,
So
exactly. So how do people connect with you if they want to reach out to you and, check out what type of hubcaps that you have available.
Got a special running on that 78 Gremlin.
Y'all to have a course on how to talk to everyone like your cousin.
Hey, dude, that's one of my that's one of my principles, man. Like that's how I get
Everybody's your
comfortable.
brother and sister.
Hey,
you
dude.
know?
You talk to him like you saw him at Grandma's house last week. Playing basketball with him, in the backyard.
Yeah.
No, so you can get at me at Chris Saunders, the man, across IG, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And what about you?
I don't know if you want to, dude. She's going to be so loved after this.
yeah.
Don't give out the information.
Hey,
on
listen,
how to
I'm gonna tell you
her.
something. If somebody tries to get at her, they will give her back. It will. I'll give it maybe
She's made
6
for
hours.
Chris, everybody.
Maybe 6 hours. You're gonna drop her off the side of the highway.
She just swooned you. That doesn't mean you slide in the DM. She's married. We know she's a sweetheart and she's the best. But how do people connect with
So
you?
I'm at Leanne Saunders 1 on Instagram and Leanne Bailey Saunders on Facebook. And if you want to get at Chris, I can give you some pricing. There's some bundle pricing I can give you as well. I'm glad to
There's the
rent them out.
weekend getaway
Wow,
pricing. There's
She has
the
now become my
year-long.
pimp.
Yeah.
I kind of like this.
Nah, you guys gonna okay? Here we go.
Guys, thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Man, I'm so
was
glad
so
we
fun.
finally got to do
I'll
this.
tell you one thing. I told Chris
look
on the
forward to
escalator
this.
as we were going down, I said, and of course I hope this doesn't happen, even if you don't speak, I was like, seeing Trevor, that's your new celebrity name.
We're now-
Trevor
we
and
got
Kel.
a new name.
I
This
said to
podcast
him-
is turning into Trevor.
I said, seeing Kel and Trevor was worth coming to Miami. And those are the kind of
That's
what you-
legit. She legit said that.
Yeah.
Because
I
just
feel the same
feeling your
about you.
energy and just being around you two, you're just such good, genuine humans. Like, that is what, leveling up does when you're with the right audience. So
it means a lot,
Thank you
especially
guys
from
so
you guys.
much.
And also think about
we got
that.
them fooled.
It worked. Yeah, it only took 2 or 3 years, but
One of the things I was also telling her is like we've been around each other maybe 3-4 times.
probably 4. Yeah.
All right, we saw you at the valet area. We were waiting for our Uber. You just handed over the keys to your rental car.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you trust me by default.
Yeah. Without
You know why?
Sure.
It wasn't even a question. I was like, why are you waiting for an Uber? They're going to pull up our rental. Just take the rental car and go do whatever you guys need to do.
That is what getting around the right people who are on the same path, who are on the same frequency, gets you.
Yeah.
Blind trust.
Got each other's back,
Blind trust.
man.
That's true.
1,000% I would have
That's
done it for
true.
you guys.
Oh, dude, for sure.
If somebody has, some sort of trucking company or any sort of company that needs logistics, would they just, again, slide into the DMs, or is there a website, or how would they go
We
about?
do have a website.
Okay,
Yeah.
but how
We
would
do.
they go about contacting you on the business side of things versus maybe personal?
Since I'm 44 and you're calling me a grandpa over here, you can go to www.
World Wide Web.
Worldwide prestige.
It's icomcorp.com. That's ICOMMCORP.com.
It's not
There you go.
.net. It probably would have been cheaper.
I own the .net as well,
and .org.
just in
and
case somebody
.org,
tried to squat that
Yeah,
joker.
exactly.
It's mine.
Yeah, you got to protect it. You got to protect it. Well, we appreciate you guys, and I'll be honest with you. When I heard that you guys were going to be here and we brought all the podcast stuff, I was like, this is like just lining up perfectly. Like, we were so happy to have you guys on, and we couldn't wait. Remember when we were talking up in Whistler, like, oh, we can't wait. We want you guys on this podcast. You guys are just awesome. And we were so excited to go to Vegas and have you guys on. But it's, I guess everything happens for a reason. Here we are in Miami. Yeah, you know, the universe brought us together because this was supposed to happen. And I know for a fact that there's people that listen to this that got value. And I guarantee you guys have enhanced thousands of people's lives just with this one podcast. I guarantee it. So it gives me chills just thinking about it. So we appreciate you guys more than you even know. And guys, make sure
Two-way
that,
street.
make sure if you guys want to connect with them, reach out to them. Good people. They'll respond back and show love. That's just who these people are. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you share it with a loved one. Pull your wife or your husband in and listen to this episode. This is an episode that people could listen to together. Maybe this is the episode that starts pulling spouses back together if they've drifted apart because one's in business and one's not. Where they
Motivates
can
them
kind of
to
see,
understand each other,
yes,
you know?
exactly. So if you're struggling with a spouse, have them listen to this podcast with you so that they can see how a team ultimately works, and make sure you're asking yourself the right questions so that you can find the right answers. So we wish you guys nothing but the best. Keep kicking ass and take care.